bit of a mixed bag for the Redskins last night in their preseason opener. Got out to the early lead, had some key injuries last night. Hopefully they're minor. Ioannidis and Darius Geis both limp off the field. A few other injuries sprinkled in as well. What did you think of preseason game number 1 overall?
I thought some young guys jumped out, and I think that's, forgetting the score, forget what New England did in the second half. But I do think there were some young guys who could be and will be part of this team, and that's a good sign for them trying to build the sort of depth they need. So, whether it was guys or some of the young receivers, some of the young defensive backs, Stroman, I thought Apke was around the ball. I'm missing someone here, but Danny Johnson. I mean, he stood out. Danny Johnson has stood out in camp, and then he goes and does it in the game. And then the receivers, Sims, Mo Harris, Robert Davis. So how good they'd be during the season, I don't know, but they're showing signs of being able to help.
Another guy you pointed out on your Twitter last night, @John_Keim, Sean Dion Hamilton, late pick from Alabama. You said quick to diagnose and get to the ball. Give him a clean front, and those traits will help a lot. Give him time, though, not there yet. But you'd like to see that sort of progression from a young guy in his first preseason action.
Absolutely. And the thing is, what people have to remember, guys aren't finished products at this point. And so, but a guy like Hamilton, though, what you look for are some traits. And what I saw in that game from him is what you saw, what I've seen in practice as well, the diagnosis and the quickness to the ball, et cetera. Now, he's a little bit smaller of an inside linebacker. That's why I think that clean area is big for him. But he also is coming off a knee injury, and so they haven't felt like he's quite back to where he's going to be. So that could play a factor for him. But those are some of the traits he has. And, again, you've seen that in camp when he's done well against the backups.
John, is the Skins front office and personnel department, are they in a spot now where if they have two players that are pretty close, if one of those players went to Alabama over another school, are they automatically going to give that guy a nod? Because they're loading up the roster with guys who went to school in Tuscaloosa and learned under the hand of Nick Saban.
Yes, they are. I don't know that would make a final difference. I would hope that you're going to take the guy that you just feel is better. And when you ask coaches those sort of questions, they're always going to say, well, you're going by production, you're going by this, you're not going to look at the school. But I can't say what they're going to think privately. You may rate a guy from Alabama, well, he's there, he must be better. I don't know that they would do that. You would think not. But, I know it's a good school for football. So, I think a guy like Cam Sims, I think he'll be an interesting one. He, from Alabama had a couple good plays and has also looked good at times in camp. He's from there. So is that going to make a difference for him? But, he certainly is standing out, and he is from Alabama.
Talking to John Keim, Redskins beat reporter for ESPN, ESPN.com. Kind of distinguish the three younger receivers. You mentioned Sims, Robert Davis, and then Mo Harris, who we've seen in action. Kind of distinguish their skills for us.
Yeah, with the thing that jumps out with Mo Harris is the route run. He's in his hands. Those are the top two things people talk about with him. And what he can also do is run routes from. So if something happens to Jamison Crowder and Trey Quinn isn't on the roster, you have a guy who can go in there and play that position. I think that's a lot of what he's doing. And last year at this time, you kind of expected a better camp, but he was hurt, and so he was slow to kind of show anything, and it enabled them to put him on the practice squad initially. I think a big separator for him would be special teams. But I think if he keeps playing like this, he'll be okay. Robert Davis, big, fast. And I think you saw that on the crossing route, which I think he got like 20 yards or something like that. But what I liked on that play was there was some savvy there and some patience on the route. Comes off the line, kind of gives the D-back a hesitation move, and then cuts across. So for a big guy to kind of go with that hesitation and then cut across shows a little bit of burst. I think that's one thing they like about him, again, size and speed. Early in camp, he was a guy that I had been told was, that they felt was like really going to start to emerge, and then he really didn't. So, he had a few plays last night, and that's good for him, but his size and speed, and Cam Sims has the size. I mean, was he like 6'5", and
6'5",
so he's a really good target, and so again, you see him jumping up once in a while during practice. Enough. Listen, his name has been mentioned. When you're talking to guys, it's not just like after practice, hey, how'd Cam Sims look? Well, they're always going to say, oh, he looks great. But he's a guy whose name they will bring up once in a while as someone who is looking good, and sometimes it's even in private discussion. So, he is definitely a guy who's caught their attention. Now, whether he's done enough to make the bud, in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.